The very first job that you have when you're giving a speech, the very first job of your introduction, is the attention-getting device. The attention-getting device is the device a speaker uses to capture the audience's attention. And there's a lot of different things that you can use in order to capture your audience's attention. And remember, this attention getter should be the very first thing out of your mouth when you are giving your speech. You shouldn't start with your name, you shouldn't start with your topic, you should start with this attention-getting device. The first type of AGD that you can use, attention-getting device, is a reference to the subject. And this is when you literally start off by telling your audience the subject of your speech. This is probably the most dry attention getter that you could use. It's the least interesting attention getter, but it gets the job done. It's very clear, very direct, and it's one way that you can potentially open up your speech. Another way you could open your speech is by referencing the audience that sits in front of you, particularly if the audience has something unique about them that relates specifically to your topic. For example, with our audience, we're facing a group of college students. So maybe you reference the fact that perhaps the college students sitting in front of you have some student loan debt. And perhaps you are giving an informative speech about different ways that we can deal with student loan debt. If you were to start off your speech then by saying, how many of you in here have some form of student loan debt? The response by the audience would be a reference to the audience. So, pointing out something unique about the audience makes them interested about your speech because it shows the relevance that your audience has to your speech's topic. Another way that you could start your speech is with a quotation. When you're using a quotation, you're using the words of another person that relate directly back to your topic. And this is often a good way to start a speech. For example, you could quote Mark Twain and use his quotation and tie it into your topic. It's using the words of someone who is smarter than you and more well-known to open up your speech. Now, I personally tend to think that quotations are more well-used in conclusions rather than introductions, but it's dealer's choice. You can choose any one of these attention getters, and it will be an effective way to grab your audience's attention. Another type of attention-getting device that you could use is a reference to current events. Specifically, if those current events relate to your specific topic. For example, if you are talking about something in the realm of politics, you could talk about whatever's going on in the world right now and directly compare your topic to the current events of the world. Flip side of that coin is you could make a historical reference in your introduction in order to capture your audience's attention. For example, you might talk about how something that happened in history is reminiscent of something that is happening currently. So you could use a historical reference in order to evoke memories of the past and raise awareness of how those past memories are similar to what we're seeing today. For example, you could talk about the civil rights movement and some of the leaders of the civil rights movements and some of the things that they did in the movement and compare that to some similar social movements that we're seeing today. Another attention-getting device that you could use is the anecdote. Now, I personally think that anecdotes are one of the strongest ways that you could open up a speech, and that's because an anecdote is a story. It's a narrative. It's an interesting or humorous event that really emphasizes your speech's basic message. And it really helps your audience to put a face to whatever your topic is, because generally speaking, anecdotes involve people. And so when we are using these anecdotes, we're able to take whatever topic it is we're talking about and put a face onto that topic, make it more personal for the audience, make it understood that this is something that affects real people. So you can use anecdote to really capture your audience's attention and really get them interested in the world of your speech. You could also start off with just a startling statement, something that surprises your audience or catches them slightly off guard. And these can be strange facts or statistics, for example. But you have to make sure that A, it's factual, and B, that it relates to your topic specifically. All of these should relate directly back to your topic. For example, you might give the startling statement that it is a law in the state of Florida that you could have a frog arrested for croaking after 10 p.m. And your audience would probably be caught off guard by that startling fact. Like, what? You can arrest a frog? And you could then tie that to your statement, to your topic, by saying there are lots of laws like these that are still on the books that are ridiculous and completely outdated, and then tie it directly to a ridiculous and completely outdated law that your speech is all about. Catches the audience off guard and really makes them see the importance of what it is that you're talking about. Finally, you could use a question to capture your audience's attention. And this is useful because it really gets your audience thinking about your specific topic and how it affects them. For example, if you were to ask your audience how many of them have ever filled out the FAFSA in order to get financial aid, the raising of the hand gets the audience interested in what you're talking about. It makes them remember, oh yeah, I did fill out the FAFSA once, or no, I haven't ever filled out the FAFSA, what is that? So it really gets the question marks going in the audience's mind and gets them thinking about your topic and gets them thinking about how your topic relates to them specifically. So questions are probably one of the most used attention-getting devices because of this reason. It's one of the most useful ways to get your audience listening and paying attention. Any one of these is going to be a good call. They're all good attention-getting devices, and they all have different ways of capturing your audience's attention. It just depends on what angle you want to go for your speech.